No problem.
Hello, everyone. I'm very excited today because we have a cyber powerhouse with us today as a guest on episode 10 of 10 Minutes of Wisdom. So, Charmaine has been an industry veteran when it comes to cyber in Philippine uh, cybersecurity industry. As I understand, last year she was also nominated as the Cyber Woman uh, there. So, and she has been very kind and gracious to participate in this podcast where we discuss on cyber security in Philippines. So thanks a lot, Shamin. Thanks for joining us. So, Shamin, I know like you have a background, like 20 years back, you used to serve for US Army, and then as I saw your profile, you also did US and European. Uh, there was this military assignment where you used to lead the cybersecurity across Europe. I think for that command or division. So you have massive amount of experience on other international cybersecurity views in other countries as well. So I thought it would be the best. You would be the best person to talk to about cybersecurity in Philippines and how it compares to other countries as well. So my first question that I had for you, Shamin, you're on mute, but my first question to you is like, if any CISO or any business wants to set up their business in Philippines, what are the cybersecurity regulations they should be aware of based on the industry, based on the sector, or so on and so forth?
So, one of the key things that's common if a business wants to set up here in the Philippines is really understanding the laws around privacy and cybersecurity, right? Especially that's for this as we are discussing today. So there is a Data Privacy Act, very similar to the European and in the North America's GDPR, right?
Okay.
So very similar to that. It's a lot closer to GDPR than the US counterpart. And it really is about governing and processing personal data in the Philippines, right? So it says that organizations need to implement the appropriate amount of security to protect personal data,
Mm.
right? Of
Yeah.
data subjects, of people, right? Now, it's very unique in that it requires a data privacy officer for every organization. So that's
Okay.
one regulation. Second regulation is the Cybercrime Prevention Act, and this came
Okay.
out in 2012. And really, it criminalizes offense against confidentiality, integrity, and availability of computer and data systems.
Okay.
Right? So there are penalties related to libel, identity theft, cyber extortion. So there are broad different activities. And then lastly, we have the National Cybersecurity Plan of 2023 to 2028, right?
Mm.
And this is really the guidelines for securing the country's cyber environment, right? So there's protective requirements, right, for critical infrastructure, government networks, and naturally the general public. So those are the three major regulatory um, documentations and resources that you must learn and
Mm.
understand.
Ah, okay. From the data perspective, the data privacy piece that you spoke about, like GDPR, is there penalty if the data privacy is not maintained or adequate due diligence is not maintained by the organization?
Absolutely. In the data privacy, there are about 26 controls, and each organization must be compliant to each of those controls. They are given the certification by the data privacy or what we call the National Privacy Commission. Right?
Okay.
So, in essence, if there is a data privacy breach of
Hmm.
personal identifiable information or sensitive information, there is a 24-hour period that a company, organization, or establishment must report to the National Privacy Commission.
Okay.
So there is a regulatory mandate to do that within, sorry, not 24, but within the 48 hours.
Oh, okay. That's good. That's, I think, in line with how we have in Australia. Australia has something called as a notifiable data breach that we have to inform the authorities within 72 hours. So I think it's similar timelines there. So now, as you have like seen cybersecurity industry grow right from a baby to what it is now. So do you think these regulations are keeping in pace with the current cyber threat landscape? We talk about AI driven cyber threats. We are talking about in future we are even talking about quantum computing coming up and all those things. And now we are in current, there are phishing, there are phishing which are happening, social engineering were happening, which is so sophisticated with deep fake videos and all in the mix. So do you think these regulations are keeping in uh, touch with those realities?
They are, but in the sense I look at it in such a way that it's catching up with technology, right? It's catching up with the emerging technologies or emerging technologies that come up. An example of which is artificial intelligence. Although we are getting closer in that gap. So when you think about it, artificial intelligence came out in 2020, late 2023,
Yeah,
right? Or sorry, beginning of
2020.
2023 and all year 2022, it became one of the high, and now it's hitting its height. No?
Yeah, yeah,
Now the good thing is I'll give you an example. Organizations such as those in the U.S. called the National um, NIST, National
yeah, yeah.
Institute for
It's just
right
standards and technology. Yeah,
standards, the National Institute of Standards and Technology is
yeah,
really talking about now they have an AI standard, right? The
yeah.
risk management framework AI 100, right?
Mm,
So that particular one came out in December 2023. And
mm.
then the same with ISO 42001, which
Yes.
is the standard for artificial intelligence, right?
Yeah.
So both of which came about a few months after the technology is mainstream.
Mm,
Um, if you go back and look at blockchain technology, when blockchain came out and became something that we are using, it took a couple of years before standards caught up to that. So
true.
they are getting better, but there's still a bit of a reaction to this. And I
Mm,
think there's a natural tendency to do so simply because emerging technology comes from companies, private companies, or um,
mm.
research centers, and
Yes,
they
true.
also want to find that this is being what do you call this? It is being adopted. So
Mm,
depending on the adoption rate, uh,
mm.
the more the people using the regulations come to it, right?
Yeah,
But
that's right.
MIC they are getting better. They're slowly closing the gap. I look forward to regulations in quantum computing, post quantum computing.
Mhm.
I look forward to secrets management and cryptography
Yeah.
management. Um, so those are things that we are thinking about in the private sector that we are hoping that from the governmental sectors in whatever geography that there is that movement.
Okay. So that's good to know. Actually, it's even I see like even for quantum computing now, I think there has been a white paper from NIST as well on how organizations can buckle up their strategy towards it and how you can tackle that. So when it comes to Philippines perspective, when you talk about cyber regulations or cyber practices, can you, and compared to other countries, can you point out any uniqueness or what things are going good for Philippines compared to other countries and where they can improve and so on and so forth? So as an industry leader, what would be your advice?
So one of the key things that I see in terms of regulations, we are doing much better. Like I said, there's a closer gap.
Mm.
Um, so what's going well in the Philippines is that it has a comprehensive data protection framework. Right,
Yeah.
I alluded to the Data Privacy Act of
Mm.
2012. So
Mm.
imagine back in 2012, we already had a Data Privacy Act.
Yes.
And so there is rules and regulations accordingly, and is so close to the European Union's GDPR. So that's going really well.
Mm.
Next is there's a collaborative approach on the National Cybersecurity Plan. So,
Mm.
like I said, we are on the second version, which is the 2023 to 2028, and it
Okay.
requires collaboration across all sectors, both in private companies, the international partners, particularly within the region, Australia, Japan, Singapore, especially as we look at critical threats, right? Uh, there are global cybersecurity threats that need to be discussed across the region. Now, insofar as learning from other countries, we want to learn how to obtain and operationalize the ability to have real time threat intelligence sharing, right?
Mm.
So, as it is in countries like Australia, the US, European Union, you have different frameworks for real time cyber threat sharing. So there's
Mm.
always between the private sector and the government sector. So we
Mm.
can definitely benefit from creating a more, I say, robust threat intelligence sharing platform or
Okay.
mechanism, right?
Yeah.
So this means that there is a need to understand private and public partnerships, which
Mm.
is a very strong, is very strong in Australia as an example.
Yes. Yep.
Next one is incident response.
Mm-hmm.
So our capability, our cyber resiliency, not only within the region but within the Philippines, right? Um, so in some countries, like in your part of the world, um, for sure, we understand that incident reporting, right? Having a framework, um, mandates are
Mm.
being exercised and operationalized.
Mm.
This is something that we can, in the Philippines, strengthen an incident
Okay.
response framework, a mandate that we made ensures that we have the crisis breach center, for
Mm.
example, for breach notifications,
Yes.
and of
Yes.
course, creating those units that we can easily rely on and deploy that can
Mm.
support small and medium enterprise. I
Exactly.
believe,
Yeah.
bigger companies, larger companies, I mean, an example, our organization, we have the capability to have a crisis team, crisis management team,
Mm.
and the like. But
Yep.
what about the medium and small size businesses that may
Mm.
require, that actually need this service simply because, an attack to them can kill their
Mm.
business instantly, right?
Mm.
Uh, and then the next one is creating a sandbox for regulations, right?
Mm.
Um, it's basically allowing private companies. Um, this is actually happening in UK and in Singapore. We
Okay.
can implement these sandboxes, and it allows businesses to test technologies in that space, in that
Okay.
controlled environment, and then allow them to basically operationalize technology or a
Mm.
capability. And
Yes.
then there's no risk of non-compliance, right? So we're
That's true.
creating really an environment for testing,
True.
that not only is used by private companies but is for international. It's like a big lab, right?
Yeah.
So that
True.
would actually be a good thing.
Yeah, this last one is a very innovative idea. I have to say, Shamin, I've not heard from many people here, but that's actually a good idea because there are so many fintechs and not tradition. These are not traditional banks or these are not traditional lending operations, and how they are like in fintech. There are so many disruptors who are coming in, and you need to have them under this sandbox environment that you're talking about, so then you can create something which is actually useful so you don't provide them with some legacy control expectations for a modern way of doing things. So that's I think a great insight that you have provided. Charmaine, thanks a lot. You have been so kind, and I'm really blessed to have your time here. And I hope the viewers here learned a thing or two from you. Thanks a lot, and have a nice day.
Thank you, Vanel. Appreciate
Yeah,
and look forward to speaking to you anytime.
sure. Thanks.